Hello and welcome to Written Words, and today's video is another in our regional English series where we explore the English language in different areas. And today we're going to look at the county of Lincolnshire. Although I was born and grew up in Yorkshire, Lincolnshire has been my home for many years now, so it has become my adoptive home. Lincolnshire is the second largest county in England, although its population density is relatively low. It's bordered to the north by the River Humber, to the west by the River Trent, on the east is the North Sea, and then it stretches as far south as Cambridgeshire and Norfolk. Its combination of flat landscape and gently rolling hills, combined with its fairly mild climate, has made it a perfect area for agriculture since ancient times. And even today, farming and the associated industries play a fundamental role in the lives of Lincolnshire's people. The Lincolnshire flag, which was adopted as recently as 2005, symbolises various aspects of Lincolnshire. The red cross in the middle is the cross of St. George, which is the cross of England. The yellow and the green represent the colours of the fields which cover the county. The yellow also represents the yellow bellies, which is the nickname given to Lincolnshire people. The blue is a reminder of the sea on the east coast, and it's also representative of the beautiful, vast skies that we see over the county. Because the landscape is so flat, we get some beautiful views of the sky. And the fleur-de-lis in the middle is the symbol of the city of Lincoln, which is the capital of Lincolnshire. When I moved here from Yorkshire, I found that the accent and the dialect of Lincolnshire are not too far removed from Yorkshire. Although Lincolnshire people speak with a much softer accent, with gentler vowel sounds as opposed to the more harsh Yorkshire vowel sounds. And of course, the area has plenty of its own vocabulary as well. Due to the size of the county and the fewer transport links and the different pace of life in farming communities as opposed to urban areas, people tended not to travel and mix as much as they did in the cities, which meant that the dialect had some very definite regional distinctions. Now, though, as is often the case, people move around more and mix more, and so the dialect has begun to fade. And those regional variations have become less clear. Although there are plenty of groups and individuals across the county who work to preserve the dialect through poetry, storytelling, and various kinds of record keeping. Lincolnshire people have a deep connection to the land and nature, and this is reflected in their local language and their literature. Possibly the most well-known literary figure to have come from Lincolnshire was Alfred Lord Tennyson. Tennyson grew up in the village of Somersby, and a statue to Tennyson stands outside the majestic Lincoln Cathedral. I visited Lincoln, the cathedral and the Tennyson statue in a previous video, and there is a link in the description below to that video if you're interested. Although in his adult years Tennyson moved away from the county, he did write a handful of poems in the Lincolnshire dialect, including The Northern Farmer, which is actually two poems, one called The Old Style and one called The New Style, as well as The Churchwarden and the Curate, Old Roar, and a selection of others as well. The lesser-known poet Bernard Samuel Gilbert from the village of Billinghay also wrote poetry in the Lincolnshire dialect, although in a rather different style to Tennyson. He wrote with a large dose of humour and satire and often bawdiness, and his poems offer a unique glimpse into the reality of the lives of ordinary Lincolnshire people. The Lincolnshire Poacher is a traditional folk song which has become the unofficial anthem of Lincolnshire, and it also echoes the area's connection with the land and its flora and fauna, and it describes a poacher hunting for hares in the woods at night time under the moonlight. Here are the lyrics to the Lincolnshire Poacher, which were first printed in 1775, so it probably dates back much further than that. When I was bound apprentice in famous Lincolnshire, full well I served my master for nigh on 7 years, till I took up to poaching, as you shall quickly hear. Oh, 'tis my delight on a shiny night in the season of the year. As me and my companions was setting out a snare, 'twas then we spied the gamekeeper, for him we didn't care. For we can wrestle and fight, my boys, and jump from anywhere. Oh, 'tis my delight on a shiny night in the season of the year. As me and my companions was setting 4 or 5, and taking them all up again, we caught a hare alive. We caught a hare alive, my boys, and through the woods did steer. Oh, 'tis my delight on a shiny night in the season of the year. We threw him over my shoulder, boys, and then we trudged home. We took him to a neighbour's house and sold him for a crown. We sold him for a crown, my boys, but I didn't tell you where. Oh, 'tis my delight on a shiny night in the season of the year. Success to every gentleman that lives in Lincolnshire. Success to every poacher that wants to sell a hare. Bad luck to every gamekeeper that will not sell his deer. Oh, 'tis my delight on a shiny night in the season of the year. So for our text for this lesson, let's take a closer look at a poem by Bernard Samuel Gilbert. This poem is from a collection that was published during the First World War. It was published in 1915, and the particular poem that I'm going to read, Gone to the War, is a very different kind of war poem. It's a very different kind of war poetry to, for example, Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon, who were away at the war themselves, writing about the experiences of being at war. This poem is about the people who were left behind, in particular a wife of a soldier who is going to war. But instead of being sad about her husband going to war, it actually turned out to be quite advantageous to her. Gone to the war. He's gone to the war, he's gone to the war, I don't care a rap if I see him no more. He leathered me reg'lar Saturday night, when he collared his wages and allus got tight. I'm sure I prefer to be single by far. Now he's gone to the war, now he's gone to the war. His wages was 13 and 6pence a week. We extra in harvest, but that was to seek a cottage, nought else, made up all our pay. And when you've 10 childer, that's not much a day. He gave me 9 shillings, it didn't go far. But now I have plenty, he's gone to the war. A little bit more than a shilling a day to feed 'em and clothe 'em and bills for to pay. The grocer, he hated me going to shop, and as for the butcher, we lived upon sop. Water and bread, on plenty of water our childer was fed. We was allus in debt, 'cause we couldn't keep out, except at the pub where no credit's about. If I wanted to find him, I knowed where to go. He would be at the Bull, wi' his mates in a row. I slaved at my work while he sung in the bar, but I'm getting it back now he's gone to the war. The sergeant popped in, and he saw 6 our Tom, Arthur Bates, Willie Jones and his cousin. There's plenty of victuals and little to do, wi' a suit of good clothes and a medal or 2. They all joined together to have a last drink, and that sergeant he snapped 'em before they could wink. He telled me about it, I said nowt the while. I had to look solemn and try not to smile, because I should get, in the paper I seed, nearly 2 quid a week and no husband to feed. You can send me a quid and still save on the rest. I nodded my head and said that would be best. Each week you can send it, I'll leave my address, and when the war's done I'll come back to you, Bess. So off he went smiling to Lincoln full sail, with cheering and shouting and plenty of ale. I cried till he'd gone, then set off for to seek the man what was handing out 2 quid a week. 2 quid a week? 2 quid a week? Who wouldn't sell husbands for 2 quid a week? No drink and no bother, no quarrelsome brutes. What's nasty and dirty and sleeps in their boots? I pretended to cry, but I laughed in my cheek. I'd swap 40 husbands for 2 quid a week. He come home on Saturday, the colour of chalk. They very nigh killed him to judge by his talk. He'd marched and he'd sweated with no chance to shirk. Not sin he were born had he done so much work. He cried like a babby to get in the door, and when it was Monday, he cried all the more. He's gone to the war, he's gone to the war. I shan't care a rap if I see him no more. 10 childer is plenty to take your attention, though sewing machines is a useful invention. I can buy out I want with no husband to keep. I'm as happy on 2 quid a week. There's nobbut one trouble as troubles me now, and that's how much longer them Germans can go. They've stood it a year and my childer looks grand, with clothes and with boots and with money in hand. If the war should stop now, it would be most distressing. For one thing is certain, it's just been a blessing. If anything happens, I draw on a pension, not 2 quid a week, but it's still worth attention. Of course, if the war would keep on a few years, I shouldn't be bothering then with no fears. There would be enough saved to flit out this fen, and when Tom come home he could marry again. There niver was none such good times for to be. With 2 quid a week I'm in clover, you see. Every now and again Tom writes home for his quid, says he'll niver come back if I don't do his bid. But I shan't care a rap if I see him no more. He can stop where he is now he's gone to the war. But p'raps he'll improve now he's gone from his home, and turn like he was when a courting he come. If that sergeant can straighten him into a lover, I should long for the day when the war would be over. A sweetheart, a husband, a father, and more. God knows I would welcome him home from the war. So this is clearly a very different angle to the First World War and the people involved in it. The husband has not been a good husband. He beats his wife, he spends all his money on drink. So when he goes away to war and his wife discovers that she's entitled to an allowance of 2 quid a week, that's £2 a week, that was quite a lot of money in those days, and she's rather pleased. She's got 10 children, so that money would be very welcome. So when he goes away, she finds herself much better off. She doesn't have to worry about her husband's behaviour, and she has an income of her own. So she's not in a hurry for the war to be over at all, and wonders how long the Germans can keep it going so that she can stay in her new life. At the end, though, she does mellow a little and wonder if perhaps when he does come home, he might have become a better person. So what Lincolnshire language is there in this poem? First of all, there are quite a number of words that are spelt slightly differently. They're spelt phonetically, the way people would pronounce them. Especially the vowel O is often spelt with an A as well, to lengthen the vowel. Go, no, clothe, for example. There are some apostrophes where there are letters missing because people would miss them out as they speak. So, we extra, so with extra. And to feed to feed them. More'n is more than, and so on. And then there are some specific words that are used. For example, alles is always. Tight is drunk. Childer is children. Gev is gave. And then there are a few places where grammar has been changed too. In Lincolnshire, you will often hear people saying we was instead of we were, or you was. And in this poem we have we was Alice in debt. We were always in debt. She also says I knowed where to go. Instead of I knew where to go, she knowed where to go. Not being a yellow belly myself, my attempt at a Lincolnshire accent isn't always terribly accurate. So on the worksheet that goes with today's lesson, I have included some links to real Lincolnshire voices speaking in the Lincolnshire dialect. And now for our language focus, let's look at some more Lincolnshire words. As I was exploring some of the various groups and organisations that aim to promote the Lincolnshire dialect and preserve it for future generations, I came across a website called Far Welted, which contains all sorts of information about Lincolnshire and its dialect. And it has a page with a few Lincolnshire words. So here are some of them. Apologies to anybody from Lincolnshire listening for my pronunciation, but if anybody would like to give me any feedback on how these words should be pronounced, I would be very interested to hear. So some of the words listed by Far Welted include inderends, means leftovers, and because of the farming heritage, it's usually used to refer to the leftovers of the grain crops. If somebody is eyeable, they're pleasant to look at. And gorming means looking. Grufty is dirty. Sitchna pickle is a state of confusion. Skelled means tipped over. Underneen clothes are your underclothes. Obviously, as time goes by, some of these words are less regularly used. They're probably used more by the older generations. But there are some words still in regular usage that I noticed when I came here. For example, if you're mardy, that means you're in a bad mood. And when children go to school, they often take a pack up with them, which is what I used to call a packed lunch. And then there is the word duck. In Lincolnshire, it's quite common for people to refer to other people as duck. It's a term of endearment. It's like love in Yorkshire. People in the street, a shopkeeper, a bus driver may very well call you duck. And now for our writing prompt. Going back to Bernard Samuel Gilbert's poem, put yourself inside the mind of one of the childer in the poem, one of the woman's 10 children. How does your life change when your father goes to the war and your mother has her £2 a week? How do you feel about this? And what happens when he eventually comes home? Write your account in poetry or prose and make it humorous or serious depending on your preference. As usual, there is a worksheet to accompany this lesson, and the worksheets can be downloaded from our website at writtenwords.uk. Also on the website is a link to my book, A Month of Writing Ideas, which contains a writing prompt and an example from classic literature for every day of a month, which would make an excellent Christmas gift for a writer in your life, or even a treat for yourself. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and in the meantime, happy writing!